Okay, so it is 4 o'clock. Are you ready, guys?
We are ready.
Okay, perfectly. All right. So, hello everyone, and a warm welcome to our next IWA Live Talk. So the last one for this year. Before we start, I would like to give you, as usual, some general information. So we will record the talk and publish the video afterwards on our YouTube channel. So there you can find all the previous talks. So have a look so you can rewatch all of them. So if you have any questions to our speakers today, you can ask them directly in the chat downstairs, and we will answer them during the expert discussion or at the end. So let's have a look about how the discussion will go on. Today we will have an expert talk between Christian Bender and Sven Voigt. So Christian has been an active hunter since he was 16 years old. He has over 27 years practical firearms experience, hold an instructor qualification, and has been teaching handgun shooting for several years. Besides being a full-time firearm instructor, he also is a skydiving instructor. So Christian teaches firearm safety to private security companies and is an examiner for the German Federal Firearm Proficiency exam. He told me also that he's a family man with kid, dog, and some chicken in the backyard. So you can contact him via his website. So we will copy everything in the chat. So you have his contact details, and you can book a free info call regarding your handgun question or training. So feel free to contact Christian afterwards. And a warm welcome also to Sven. So Sven is a former light infantry and military police officer. He then flew Bash planes in Tanzania and is now an instructor for survival, safety, and security. So off-road vehicle operations and mission preparation for relief organizations. He also designs and produces carrying equipment for work, hunting, and tactical applications. He obviously hunts. So now to the topic. So stay tuned for a wealth of knowledge about the handgun and how it of use of the average hunter. By the end of this live talk, you will have learned how you can use your handgun to become a better and safer shooter, and how dry fire training with a handgun will make you a great rifle shooter too. So the topic of our talk today is the handgun on the hunt, hardly appreciated and yet essential. So Christian, is that really the case?
Yes, in my experience, that is exactly the case. Because the handgun is the most difficult weapons platform to master, and it doesn't forgive anything. So you need a correct application of all the fundamentals to shoot precisely with it. So to use it correctly. And the good thing is that once you master the basics with the handgun, you can apply them to all other weapon platforms, such as your shotgun, your self-loading rifle, or just your normal hunting rifle. This is what I learned over the years, and what several very well-known instructors told me as well, that they just, that's one of the findings that they all have in common.
Is that, well, I'm Sven. What Rebecca did not mention is that I have chickens too. That was.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry for that.
Yeah, I might
very important information.
After all, we're not talking about chickens.
Okay. No, the other one. The other topic.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pose the questions to Christian a bit that we've collected before this live stream. So you kind of answered the first ones already. But you already said, why is the handgun essential in your experience? You want to talk some more about why you decided to study the handgun, especially in the field hunting?
Well, I'm from Germany, as you are as well, and in Germany, as a hunter, you have the right to possess 2 handguns. So beside all the long guns, and I'm fully aware that this is not the case in every European country. So, but we are in the fortunate position that we are allowed to have 2 handguns, but especially hunters rarely make use of the vast possibilities these handguns provide. So, I very often I hear an argument which says, well, you don't need it, and it's only focused on the actual hunting application. So, and well, for everyone, we're not allowed to hunt with handguns. So we need to hunt with long guns because of the energy that the projectile must have in order to kill an animal legally with it during a hunt. So the handgun in its pure application has a very narrow corridor of applications. One would be, which everybody hopes never to come into that situation, would be self-defense. In a self-defense situation, a handgun that you're carrying concealed can be your last resort. A long gun, you might not have the access to. Or you might have unloaded it already after you climbed down from the tree stand or so. And that is one thing. And for killing a wounded animal, also, the primary weapon should always be the long gun. This is not to be forgotten. But so that's just from the point of view, from the pure application. The other side the handgun offers is it is the most difficult tool in our toolbox to master. But if we master it, as I mentioned in the beginning, if you master it, you will automatically be a better shooter with your other tools. So even if you don't want to carry a handgun when you go hunting, which is of course totally up to you, and if you say, well, I will just leave it at home, which is okay, then you can't use it if you need it because it's not there, which is fine, which each on his own. But still, you can use it for practice. And this is why I say it's absolutely essential. So we have the right to use this very important tool and valuable tool in the first place. So hunters should make more use of it.
Well, you said it's indispensable for hunting. So which applications do you see it for?
The applications is, I can give you an example. We had a wounded animal around 2 weeks ago, and it fled into a big concrete pipe. So what were the alternatives? The alternatives were go in there, go in close, and use a blade, which I'm not a big fan of, or you use the long gun in very short distance in an environment where you will have very dangerous ricochet because of the shrapnel, or you are carrying your handgun and you can use a round that has way less energy than a long gun has, which makes it much more safer for you to act in that situation. The thing is, in the morning, you never know what happens during the day or what might happen at night. So if you leave for the hunt in the morning and you are not fully prepared, so let's say you leave your handgun at home because you say, well, I don't need it anyways, and then you encounter that situation. Basically, you have to use one of the other tools, which can be potentially dangerous for yourself or for other people that might be involved as well. And you just neglected the opportunity you originally had because you have that tool and you just decided against carrying it.
I've got to say, I'll just chip in here. I'm not overly excited about handguns. I wouldn't consider myself an enthusiast. I have a much closer emotional attachment to my long guns. And I choose the right long gun for the correct application every time. But the handgun is just always there. I always carry one. it's a bit like underwear. It's just there. It's you can it's really, if I want to shoot, or if I know I need to shoot, I'm going to carry a long gun, but the handgun is always there just in case.
Exactly.
I mean, some long guns are just not capable of short distance shooting.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I meant. So if you are not carrying it, you will never enjoy, in a way. I mean, all the situations a handgun comes into use certainly never are situations that are enjoyable, but they can be very, very less enjoyable if you have to use a long gun in a situation where a handgun would be appropriate. Let's put it that way.
So I can attest to that. I've never fired a handgun in anger, but I had a situation where I really, really wished I had one. That's it's like you said, it's quite unpleasant.
Yeah, exactly. So that's from the application point of view. And the other point of view was from the, let's say, from the instructional or from the learning point of view. So you have these little handguns that are where the trigger pull is heavier than the gun itself. That is not the case with long guns, by the way. So you will use more muscle with long guns to hold the long gun, and then the little movement of the trigger finger will not disturb the rest of your shooting platform, because you're using way more muscle power anyways to support the higher weight of the long gun. That's one of the problems with the handgun. The handgun is lighter than its trigger pull, so it's easier to disrupt the shooting platform by pulling the trigger. So, okay. So if you want to shoot successfully with a handgun, you need to master the trigger pull. And if you master the trigger pull with a handgun, you will automatically master the trigger pull of any long gun you have. Because I'm quite certain you will not find a long gun that has a trigger pull of, let's say, over 4 or 5 kilos, which is the weight of the typical hunting long gun with optics on it and all the jazzle. So this is just it's just a vital little tool to make you a better firearms practitioner. It's also safety rules. I live by the 4 safety rules of Jeff Cooper, and one of the safety rules, well, the first safety rule is every gun is loaded. The second is don't let the muzzle cover something that you're not willing to, well, destroy or kill, right? So sweeping something that you do not intend to shoot is quite easy with the handgun in comparison to the long gun, because people tend to be a little bit more aware where the muzzle of the long gun points. And with the handgun, it's quite quick that you point at something you do not intend to shoot. So again, using the handgun as your primary tool to learn to live according to the 4 safety rules of Jeff Cooper will just make you a better firearm practitioner and a better firearms handler than you might become when you rely only on your long guns. And
another, yeah, carry on.
Yeah, I would never have thought so, to be honest, myself. But after I made my hunting license, I was more or less without any orientation, like most people were, in regard to my own firearms handling skills. I just learned what I learned in the preparation course for the hunting license, and then I started taking lessons outside of the hunting realm as well. I started with a handgun. And I was fortunate enough to learn all these things that I know now. And this was something that really only being in touch with the handgun offered me. So I only had the chance because I had one. And then I said, well, you need proper instruction, mate, because this is not going anywhere. You cannot, right? And yeah, this is how I came to. I mean,
and there's another aspect to it. Something of this size is very easily carried anywhere. So especially that, okay, I'll show you my trigger control trick.
It's a kid's gun, right?
Yeah,
this one's from your kids.
It's a snap cap gun. Yeah. So this is, but the big advantage of this is it's the trigger will reset. And now it broke. Okay, but the trigger will reset itself after every time you pull it, which is different on a real gun, obviously. So, and it's a kid's gun. Yeah. If you look at the muzzle, there's no muzzle. So if you can, I mean, anywhere where you're in private, you don't want anyone to see this, but you can practice your trigger control wherever you are. And it's just much easier than carrying a long gun anywhere.
I had participants in a course the other day, and they hadn't bought their handguns yet. So, and what they did is they really used those toy guns from their kids to prepare for that course. They trained how to hold it after online instruction. They learned how to hold it properly, so then they could apply all the right techniques when they came to the hot course. I think it's nothing to be ashamed about, to be honest. People should be proud. I mean, everybody who trains should be proud, because he's trying to become better at something. So, and if it's with a kid's gun or with whatever, it doesn't matter. I think that has something to do with a mindset, with your attitude towards something. And most people that strive in one or the other area in life, they always have a mindset to become better, and they look for possibilities and tools and just things that help them to become better. And
I have a funny anecdote for this.
Wait, back to start.
When I flew bush planes in Tanzania, my boss told me that I'm too tall. I crash into the passenger's knees when I get into the plane. So I positioned the seat where I could get in, but the passenger's knees would not be crushed. And I practiced. I went to the plane on my own and practiced getting in and out. It's the same thing. It looks stupid, but it helps. And then it's not stupid.
Totally, but at the end, the end justifies the means in that way. And I think as we have the privilege to own a firearm, which is not a right, at least not in Germany, it's a privilege, we need to be responsible. And part of that responsibility also is to have the highest skill level that we can have, that we can produce. And we should use every opportunity that offers itself to become just to that responsibility, because we are carrying it. And privileges always come with responsibilities. I think there's a nice quote from the Spider-Man movie that would fit right in. But that's really just the case. I mean, that is real life. Yeah. There was one quite interesting question, which is, what are the pros and cons of pistol caliber carbines, particular 9mm, which are growing especially popular now? Do you see this affecting the traditional handgun sector? I know we're jumping a little bit here from one topic to the other, but it seems to be of interest. And a pistol caliber carbine is, well, that's, the name says it, it's just a pistol caliber carbine, right? It's a poor excuse for a real carbine. So I don't know.
I wouldn't put it down. I wouldn't. I like these things. I've got to say, but I know where you're going, and go ahead.
Well,
they have their purpose in life, but they're not handguns.
Yeah, I don't see a purpose for hunters, to be honest, because they can't do anything that I cannot do with a proper long gun, or with a rimfire long gun in my application. So I do not see that pistol caliber carbines and the traditional handgun they somehow cannibalize each other. I think they will, in a sports shooting context, they will grow together, because pistol caliber carbines, they offer one big advantage, which is you can train carbine drills, carbine handling, carbine shooting on just handgun ranges. So we do not have many, we have more handgun, we have more ranges that are approved for handgun ammo in terms of the energy the backdrop can swallow. Then we have ranges that are suited for long guns, especially when it comes to, let's say, dynamic shooting or training in a 360-degree environment. So this is where I really see pistol caliber carbines thrive, because they enhance the scope where especially sports shooters can act, and it also makes the hunter able to train or practice in ranges that are only that have only handgun ammo rating. Yeah, so that's I hope this answers the question. I hope this answers the question. I hope it answers the question. I don't know if the person that wrote the question is there. Maybe you can write it in the chat if this reply was good enough for you.
I would also say that they aren't competition for handguns, apart from maybe sports shooting. But in hunting, the only thing they could attack is low-powered rifles, rimfire rifles, that kind of thing, small bore. But it's yeah, it's a matter of personal preference, really. And of course, the big advantage is the small dimensions, especially with a suppressor. They're still handleable. But other than that, yeah. They don't really go into the handgun.
And maybe for people that do have a service background, whether it's a Leo or military, and they are used to the AR platforms to work with, then it could be easier for them just to switch to an AR-15 platform in 9mm. So they do not need to change anything in their handling. But yeah, that's it. So not a specialist on pistol caliber carbines. I'm on my way to become one, I hope. Yeah. So
speaking of weapon models,
yeah,
you want to say something about recommendable pistol models, pistols or revolvers? What do you think?
Well, it's a matter of taste in the first place. So some people just like revolvers or just like pistols. But I have found out from a lot of customers as well that the number one thing is they buy a gun, but they didn't approach it in a methodical way. So on the one hand, for instance, they say, I want to have a gun, I want to have a handgun that accompanies me. But then I found, after I bought this and that gun, I found out it was too heavy, so I'm only leaving it at home. So they didn't really think it through, or they were not consulted. They didn't have a good salesperson working with them. So maybe it's very important to understand the need of the person looking for a product or a service. So in that case, we have a hunter that says, well, I want to really be prepared for every kind of situation that I can encounter when I go hunting. So in order to do that, I would have to choose a tool that I can always carry with me. So it needs to be light enough so it doesn't bother me. And it needs to be small enough that it doesn't bother me as well. And it needs to be big enough to fit in my hand. Okay, so this is how I approach this question. Revolvers, they are always heavier than pistols, at least than modern pistols. so we have this very well-known Austrian model. This is a full-size model. It's a Glock 17, which weighs fully loaded less than the most widely spread Smith & Wesson 686 or 586 with a 4-inch barrel revolver. So it's definitely way more comfortable to carry. And then you can even go one, or if you want, 2 sizes smaller with a, let's say, Glock 19 or a 26 compact or subcompact, which you will really not feel at your belt when it's carried in a proper holster. This is also important. Every handgun needs a holster. Holster and handgun, they belong together. It's the natural habitat of the handgun is the holster. And
I'm going to ask you more about that, but carry on with the pistols now. I'll remind you.
So I choose the tool so it doesn't bother me, but I can always have it with me. And I'm not an advocate of pistol or revolver. I really don't care. I just want to have a tool that gets the job done. But I haven't encountered a single revolver yet that would fulfill these criteria. So I have always ended up with modern striker-fired pistols with a polymer grip, because they just have this weight advantage and the size advantage
and the safety advantage.
Well, the striker-fired systems, yes, they also have the big.
They are safe, exactly.
They are,
and that's always what people used to say about revolvers, that they are safer than automatics, which in a way is true for old hammer-fired automatic pistols.
Yeah, but not for striker-fired.
Modern striker-fired versions.
No, absolutely not. So the one thing is, it's as well, it's not true that revolvers don't malfunction. The problem with a malfunction in a revolver is, if a revolver has a malfunction, you need to bring it to the gunsmith. You cannot clear it yourself. You can really, really rarely repair it yourself. And the normal malfunctions a pistol can have, you can clear them yourself and continue doing what you needed to draw the gun for. So,
truth be told, they are slightly more likely to happen, though. Malfunctioning revolvers are really not an everyday issue.
That's probably a different discussion. So, as I said, everybody needs to know what he chooses, but he should have a list of criteria and then choose accordingly. And yeah, the choices I had to make always without an exception always led to a polymer framed pistol. So of different sizes.
Caliber. Do you want to talk about caliber? What do you recommend for hunting sidearm purposes?
Well, also the caliber of a gun, as well as of your hunting rifle, is always determined by what do I want to shoot at and at which distance. So if in my hunting area, for instance, if there is white boar and red deer, I should have a certain long gun cartridge that can do the job, right? With the handgun, it is only for very, very close distance engagement of of mammals in any way. We do not need to go that big. So there is it's a little bit of a I think misconception that you at least need to have a 357 Magnum as a sidearm for your daily carry as a hunter. Because what are the distances you're shooting at when you cannot use your long gun, which is always your primary tool, not to be forgotten. And this is really very, very, very important. So in the situation where you use your handgun, you are probably very, very close to the target. And in that case, a 9x19, 9mm 9mm Luger will most certainly do 99% of the jobs. It will kill every hunting animal that we have in Europe when the shot is placed right. So it will enter every skull and probably even every chest cavity. And I'm talking about animals here. We're not even talking self-defense. For self-defense anyways, that's the 9mm period. Because you get so many, with modern powders and modern bullet constructions, they can do way more than they could 20 years ago. Really, that's something we really need to address, because this misconception that you at least need a 357 or 44 Magnum hollow point is that back in the days, 20-25 years ago, that was true, but today it isn't anymore. And there's great ammo. There's great ammo in 9mm available today.
So yeah, that's my next question. Which cartridges would you recommend? What's your choice?
It's always something you always have to take into consideration the availability as well. So everything that comes from the US at the moment is very hard to get. So this is why at the moment I'm just buying stuff from Gecko, which also performs quite well. So there's this Gecko Extreme Action, which is very good hunting / self-defense round. But I've also very good experience with the Hornady. What's it? Critical duty or critical defense. I think there are two. It's basically the same, anyways. Basically. Don't behead me for that, people from Hornady. It's basically the same. Yeah.
Yes. So shall we talk about holsters? Okay. So I make gear myself, and I will sell you a rifle sling, but I won't sell you a holster. I've made some, and I'm not happy with them for reasons we'll just talk to. But I'm still going to tell you, a pistol holster is much more important than a rifle sling. You can do without a rifle sling, but you can't do without a holster.
Yeah, that's right. That's also one thing. I have met many hunters in my life that say, well, I don't need my handgun and I don't know how to carry it anyways. It's in my rucksack and
unloaded.
I don't need it anyways. So when it comes to handguns, the first thing that should cross your mind is also a holster, because handgun and holster, they build, that's a unit, that's one thing. So the handgun lives in the holster, let's put it that way. The handgun lives in the holster, nowhere else. And it should be carried in a holster, because a holster makes sure that you have this tool when you need it. Yeah. So that's it.
Let's remember also, what we carry it.
Sorry?
Let's remember what the handgun is good for. The only thing it has over the long gun is that we can actually carry it in a holster. That's right. The only real advantage.
Yeah, for the long gun you need a sling, and the long gun is always visible, and the long one someone can take away from you, and you might not expect that you are carrying a handgun. That's a sad truth, but a holster also makes it quite comfortable to carry. So I carry this one. This is a full size Glock 17, as I mentioned, and fully loaded. It's around, I think, 700 grams, and I really don't even feel it because I have the proper holster for it. Holster and handgun, it belongs together. So a store that sells you a handgun but doesn't have the right assortment of holsters for it isn't really prepared to satisfy your needs, because he doesn't understand you. And I know we have a lot of viewers from the industry that probably want to understand the customers better. So so if you sell handguns to hunters, sell them also good holsters, please. Good holsters that fit their purpose. That's really important. And if you are able to advise your customer really within the whole realm of this very specialized, but I think essential tool, this will also make the customer trust you more, because the customer that knows that the salesman knows what he's talking about will certainly return. Just a little hint from the side.
You want to talk about types of holsters that you have special needs for, or shall we talk about retention devices on holsters? Which levels are needed?
Well, we need to distinguish between open carry and concealed carry. So, so this is also the reason why you probably will need more than one holster. So depending on the situation. So, for instance, if you are searching for a wounded animal, and it's winter and you're wearing many layers of clothes, and you're carrying your handgun concealed, I mean, it's better to carry concealed than not carry at all. But if you then get into a situation where you might need to access it really, really quickly, all these layers of clothes, they could prevent that. So this is why then a second holster in your assortment, maybe an open carry holster, would be the solution just for this particular application. And if you're carrying the gun openly then, and you're going through the bushes, and you're probably getting caught in branches and twigs, you want to make sure that your gun that the holster has an extra safety. So we are talking about so-called level 2 holsters. So this is a so-called level 1 holster. So this has just the retention by the resistance that is built into this holster. So okay, so but I can just pull it out. I do not need to engage an extra safety. Oh yeah, very well. Is that level 2 or level 3 even?
Level 2.
That's level 2. So you have
push down and then forward.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the kind of holster that I use when I'm really down on my fours, rummaging through the bushes and hoping to find the animal someone else wounded, right? Because then I have quick access to that tool for the case that I need it, and I know it's secure. And in terms of material, there is no way around that. There is no way around hard plastic materials like Kydex, for instance, because it holds the form no matter what happens. Well, you shouldn't put it in the microwave, okay? That's the only thing that will destroy it. Same as the Glock or a polymer frame pistol. They will all go down the drain if you put them in the microwave, but I'm just saying, okay? Shouldn't do that. So material Kydex, so because it keeps the form, and I don't need a second hand maybe to holster my gun. Maybe I don't have the second hand, maybe I'm holding the dog, maybe I'm holding a flashlight, maybe I'm holding someone else. Why in contrast to leather holsters, they will suffer from the elements. They will just suffer from time. They will lose their form, and they will also lose their retention if they are built with retention. And then they just do not allow for these kind of level 2 safeties that you just that you just showed. So this kind of safety is not possible with a leather holster.
So this is a simple holster that I made,
of material, and
that's why I'm exactly not happy with it. The kind of the Kydex, the hard shell is just what it takes. And having said that, this is a thigh strap tactical holster from my old days. It's just not socially acceptable, but ergonomically it is the perfect holster because your hand is actually normally resting on your thigh. But for for fashion reasons, it's just not so recommendable.
Well, there are holsters that are that you can quickly put on. Let's say you come to the part of the woods where the action takes place. Then you can quickly put it on, and then you can also quickly detach it again, so you don't look like Rambo when you encounter whatever people that go trekking. So yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like with the buckle or so. It's a cold. Yeah, exactly. So there are gear solutions for everything and for every situation that we can encounter. And yes, this was always this was all from the application side so far.
So I'm just seeing
to put it in a nutshell,
questions from one of our viewers, from Ray George. Shall we answer those quickly? So first, in what condition do we carry our handguns in the hunting area? And related, when do we load it?
Why do I not see that question?
It's the F&A. It's not chat, it's F&A.
Okay.
This is
okay. How do I carry? Well, again, what do you expect your handgun to do if you need to access it? So I carry, of course, loaded, fully loaded, so that I just need to draw and can fire straight away. Why? Because I only need to draw my handgun if something seriously went wrong. And if something seriously went wrong, I probably cannot afford another handling step time-wise. And my consciousness, my focus is probably with the situation, whichever situation that is. And I do not want to have to focus then on cocking my gun, for instance. It just should be there. So this is, if the law permits that you carry it fully loaded, then do so, because otherwise you are wasting I don't want to say opportunity, but you're putting a burden on yourself that you can avoid. So the gun is there to be carried fully loaded, period. And it will only be there for you when it is fully loaded. An empty gun doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, I totally agree. In a free country, it's just loaded always. And as it is, I'm the minute I step over the hunting area boundary, I take the pistol out, load it, and reholster it. Or exactly. When I get out of the vehicle. It's in Germany, we're not allowed loaded guns in the vehicles for whatever reason. So whenever, like Christian said, as soon as it's legal, at least load.
And in terms of safety, these guns are perfectly safe. They are made for being carried fully loaded. So shots don't break by themselves. There always must be a finger on the trigger. If the gun is in good working condition, that's a must. So if you decided to play around at your gun, to go to your workbench and do some gunsmithing yourself, well, then this thing might not apply anymore. So, and I strongly advise against doing this. These guns, they are perfect as they are when they come out of the factory, believe it or not. So we just should leave them in that condition, because they are made for being carried and for being put to use when needed.
When I was younger, I thought I needed a finer trigger. I'm totally off that now. It's not doing that again.
Totally. That's one of the big learnings. If you need a lighter trigger to shoot precisely, it's your trigger work that sucks. It's not the trigger. So it's the shooter. I mean, if a car flies off the road because the driver was driving too fast or above his true abilities to drive, it was not the fault of the car. It's always the driver, right? And I said in the beginning, the use we can make from these handguns to become a better rifle shooter is because a trigger like this really compared to a good rifle trigger really just sucks. It's awful, right? But if you are able to control this trigger and shoot precisely with it, you will be able to shoot any trigger, no matter which kind of gun you get your hands on, right? So for everybody who has a handgun at home, just do some dry fire at home. Use your handgun and focus your front sight, get a good sight picture, good sight alignment, focus and press the trigger so the gun doesn't move. So, and if you have a crisp sight picture, meaning you are focused on the front sight, you will see if you move the gun by pressing the trigger. If you're doing everything right, nothing changes. You only hear the click. And if this is the case, you have very good trigger control, and you will probably be a very good shot with a rifle anyways. But if you see that this harder or longer way of the trigger, this, let's say that you need an advanced technique to pull that trigger, just do it at home. just do it 10 reps a day. That's maybe 2 minutes. 2 minutes every day with your handgun can make you a fantastic rifle shooter. It can make you an even better rifle shooter than you are already. I was always an okay rifle shooter, to be honest, but since I came a long way with really this is even the New York trigger. I'm making it even harder on myself to shoot with my Glock. Since I managed to work with that trigger and to be able to shoot to keyhole with this gun, my long gun shooting has improved exponentially. Okay. This is why I think it's essential to have a handgun, because it's way harder to master than to master your long gun, and it just doesn't forgive any mistakes you make in applying the fundamentals.
All right. We have another question from Teodoro from Brazil. Do you recommend, would you recommend other calibers than 9x19 for hunting? I mean, you already said that 9x19 is sufficient, and of course, there's nothing wrong with using a 357 or a 44, or a 45 for that matter.
I don't know if this question is aimed at hunting animals with the handgun, or if
it is actually, yeah, it's okay. And if I understand you correctly, Theodore, that's you're talking about revolvers as a primary weapon to actually hunt with, which we don't do in Germany. But so you are also shooting at a distance at the game, right? Yeah. Okay. So we're talking about primary.
Yeah, sure. When you use a handgun, as a primary hunting weapon, which we are not allowed to do here in Germany, we only carry it as a backup weapon, as a backup tool. So of course, if you use a handgun as your primary hunting weapon and to shoot game, the cartridge should be as big as possible. So at least 44 Magnum, maybe 4.454 Casual, maybe even more. So yeah, that's all 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum. I'm not too familiar with all these exotic revolver cartridges. I know that there are some really powerful revolver cartridges out there, and I know that also in the United States they are used for hunting, which is and then they put scopes on the revolvers, for instance, and yeah, Of course,
sometimes bipods.
I would never recommend a 9mm Luger for that application. Never. So go big. Go as big as you can. So big.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Oh, yeah. Theodora says, well, yeah, thanks for the question.
I've got it now. Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing, the other thing I wanted to say about that, it's not only so even if we have a pistol cartridge, or we have a pistol for a rifle cartridge, we're still not allowed to hunt with it in Germany because of the, I guess, the aiming instability. We all agree you have to be a pretty good shot to really place your shot on the target.
Yeah.
In hunting, and well, German lawmakers don't trust us to do that. So even if we have a rifle cartridge, we're still not allowed.
A handgun in any case is a very poor excuse for a rifle. So it's just a backup. So if I can, I use a long gun in 10 times out of 10, hands down, of course. You know? So this is, but it's interesting to know, or interesting to learn that that in Brazil, for instance, they go hunting with handguns. I mean, you need to stalk closer to the animal, anyways, which is an own adventure in itself. Quite interesting. But here we don't do that, Theodore.
Well, I just said, I'm frightfully sorry, Heinz. I've misread your question. I didn't see there was a question in there. I just saw the question mark. So also some hunters want to avoid the. Yeah, I think that there's much truth in that. There's hunting. There's like at least two big groups in hunting, and one is very traditional, and so it's about looks, which is not perceived as being about looks, but being about traditions. And so yes,
Heinz, yeah.
Many just don't want to see. I personally, I'm from a military background, so I really like self-loading rifles. And if they look like military rifles, I don't mind. I really like that. But
sorry. Yeah.
No, carry on.
Yeah. Let me elaborate on that as well, Heinz. It's also. I think there's a lack of education in terms of what the handgun can do, even for the traditional hunter. Even if you say, well, from a traditional point of view, my grandfather never used to go with a handgun, and so I don't need one now in the year 2021. Not you particularly, but I mean, you know, the big traditional choir that sometimes yells at us hunters. Even if you don't want to carry it when you go hunting, because others might laugh or pose silly questions or stupid questions. It's just that. It's silly and stupid and uninformed questions. Still you can profit from having a handgun and using the opportunities the handgun offers to you by just becoming a better shooter with your long gun. So thank you for your input. I definitely know where you're coming from. Oh, it's another one. Oh yeah, Heinz. Thank you.
Thanks, Heinz. Yes, please. Actually, that's how we met. I found him on Instagram, and he says he's a handgun instructor for hunters in Germany. And I thought, I need to get to know that guy. That's what that was. And I thought he must be the only one. You probably are. You know that better than I. Yeah.
So come on, audience. We are warmed up now. Give us more questions.
Well, we had a few questions about modifications. You already said in a general way that stock guns are the best, which I agree on. So you also say sights don't need to be modified.
No, not in a big way, to be honest. So this is all stock. These are tritium sights, which I really do not fancy, I just would use stock black iron sights. That's it. So the sights are the only thing where I would say, okay, it might make sense to change them. The stock Glock sights, they do the job. That's it. They do the job. And apart from that, there's nothing to change. This one, Glock has this slogan, Glock perfection, and that's really what it is. They are perfect for what they are made for. So handguns like the Glock or like the SFP9 of HK, like the SIG 320, the Walter, the new one, the PDP or the PPQ, they are made as guns that are being carried and that will save your life or save the day when you need them. So no fancy stuff. They're all ugly, to be honest. They are not silver like some of the fancy sport guns, but they will do the job, while others probably might not or will not. Right? That's the thing. For me, all my hunting tools are just that. They are just tools. They are just tools, and they help me to get a job done. And I don't want to be sorry if I drop it into the mud, or if I hit a tree with it. That's what they do on a daily basis, right?
Let me just say something about sights again. It's not really hunting related. I have the tritium sights as well.
Yeah.
And when I was in the military, we found out that the rear sights shone out of the holster. And you saw them with night vision goggles. You could see a light. Everyone had a light at their head. So we blacked out just with some black dye. We blacked out the rear sights. The front sights in the holster. That's not a problem.
Exactly.
And it's been like that ever since, and it doesn't matter. So you don't really need the tritium, the rear sight at least. I quite like the front sight to be illuminated.
I totally agree. One of my favorite people I follow on Instagram, it's Amy556 she's from Alaska. She's a fantastic instructor, shooting instructor, female shooting instructor. And she says the same about the sights. Blacked out rear sight and a crisp front sight. That's all you need. So, but apart from that, talking about modifications of the guns, just don't. Here it is. Save the money. Buy ammo and training time, or an instructor, whatever. That is what will save the day, not a piece of equipment.
Yeah. When you're talking about hunting, I totally agree. There's even like personal defense weapon setups, rifle stocks that can be added.
Yep.
They will help your aim. They will help your aim and your stability, but how are you going to hunt with that?
Yeah, that's right. And none of that, and I think, none of that will help you if your trigger pull sucks. So, and that you can really practice with your handgun. So I think it's 5 o'clock, 2 minutes to 5, Becky.
Yeah, so we
That
need to come to an end. So yeah. So last call for the last question. So if anybody has a question, so hurry up and so there's just. So thank you for a most interesting presentation on handgun usage by hunters and for hunters from Andre. So
thank you, Andre. You're very welcome. Thanks for dropping by.
Yes. So let's have a look if some questions are coming up. I don't think so. So if there is no question coming up, so I would like to thank you, Christian and Sven, for 1 hour full of information and expert talk. So very, very well. Thank you very, very much for your time and your efforts on this. Yeah, so the next talk will be in January, because we will have a Christmas break beginning on the 24th of December. So we will be back in January. So the next host will be Ruak on the 28th of January. And so stay tuned. We will publish the topic as soon as possible. And yeah, so we will finish this talk. So I wish everybody a good day, a good evening. to all over the world. Christian, get well soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining in this condition. And yeah, Sven, so talk to you soon, and yeah, have a good day.
And one question, the recording will be available on your YouTube channel as well, right?
Exactly. So it will be available, I think, tonight on our YouTube channel. So everybody who had no chance to watch the full talk today, you can rewatch everything afterwards. And I think, Christian, you will be able to answer all the questions if anything comes up afterwards.
Absolutely.
So we have you on our Instagram story, so everybody can be in contact with your profile directly, and we copied your contact details in the chat. So yeah, feel free to contact Christian for any questions. And
I'm happy to help. I'm happy to help on all handgun related matters, because it really matters to me. So
very
and
good.
I'm glad about everyone who wants to get involved.
Very good. So see you guys latest at IWA. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So perfect.
I'm the only one who works there, so just write an email out.
Very easy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So
all right.
See you latest at IWA in a couple of months. So
bye.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.